And we know, again, another player we know very well from the UK.
Yep.
Many finishes, always been a player who's been able to attend Worlds, sort of compete at the World Championships, you know, sometimes even make it into the day twos as well. Yeah, as we do see some of his just small achievements that he's had.
Yeah, just a handful.
Yeah,
Carl's been around the block many a day too. And yeah, is going to be rocking the Guard of White Yaks. We saw them yesterday on stream playing up against a Charizard deck and was able to navigate it pretty nicely and actually come up with a pretty interesting way to checkmate his opponent by actually just going all in by attaching a ton of energy so that even if Guard of White Yaks is KO'd, you have backup play. And what more can you say about Tord in terms of placements and finishes? We've had to boot off wins from ICs at this stage because they're just not enough space to show the amount of results here. We've had to throw away a top 4 at the World Championships just to improve it on that second place now. So yeah, Tord is, I keep saying it, the most accomplished player in the modern era. There's no debate about that. He's just a phenomenal, consistent performer, ruthlessly competitive. And as we're seeing today, an underrated fact about Tord is that he's also an amazing innovator and deck builder. And he will, when he thinks the meta's right for a change, he'll pounce on a new archetype. And it seems like this time around, he's got a new approach. Let's go fast with the Lost Zone engine, ramp to 7, unlock Mirage Gate, which is the most incredible acceleration that we've seen from an item card, I think, in the format, or at least in the last few years. And then we have this smorgasbord of attackers that can make an awkward board state at any point in the game for an opponent.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we saw it from Tord, you know, maybe it was last season or the season before when Lost Box or Lost type decks had just come out as well. He was piloting the Charizard. Sort of very straightforward, but it was all about being as consistent as possible with his list. And we've seen that throughout. Whenever there's been a new set that drops, Tord's kind of just realizing how the meta will shift to best play a particular type of deck. You know, getting into the game is far more important from his perspective. And we've had so many interviews and conversations with Tord, you know, that idea around power cards that spike a particular deck and archetype that he would be playing, compared to kind of the consistency cards that he would like to try and shift into his deck and meta. But, you know, we're at this stage now. Tord, like you said, is currently undefeated in this tournament, up against Karl's 9-1-1 record. Both players in a fantastic position still to try and push themselves into that top 8 spot. Let's just see how this is going to play out.
Yeah, and in many ways this is a very Tord-like list where you see a lot of 4-ofs on all the item cards and all the, well, just quad Colress is the only supporter. You don't often see that in Lost Zone engines, but Tord just saying that I want to Colress every turn, I want to filter out the bad cards and keep amassing hand sizes, and has 3 Pokegear and Palpad to make sure he can reuse Colress every single turn in the game. And it's just saying the creativity of this deck comes from those Pokemon. Got the Iron Hands EX and the Roaring Moon EX, pretty much the 2 most impressive attackers. Typically they're known for being in other decks, but in this time they've been mashed together alongside even more tricks.
Yeah, because we've seen Lost Box type decks with Iron Hands and Roaring Moon. I believe that's been a bit of a deck that people have been trying.
It's been either or more. More often than not, it's been an either or situation where because of Lightning Energy and Water Energy, it would be like Dragonite and Iron Hands and Raikou, those sorts of Pokemon combining together with like Forest Seal Stone packages from the past. Whereas Tord is saying that with all these EXs now, Forest Seal Stone's got to go. And we're going to have these new attackers make way as we start our game 1 here in round 12. And it's going to be Karl kicking things off with a Ralts in the active.
Yep, so Karl going first does have the Battle VIP pass, which is usually massive. Just had a quick glance at those prizes alongside you guys on the Twitch stream there. There was that Kyogre prize on Tord's side of the board. Of course, as we already mentioned, no boss or anything like that because he's playing the Kyogre type variant. You know, we'll be trying to occasionally snipe the bench where possible, but Karl will be looking to try and impact that where, or deal with that threat where possible.
I don't think it's necessarily matchups that Tord looks for Kyogre. I think it's opportunities. When possibly he's had that slower start and hasn't been able to ramp with Mirage Gates, he'll look for that comeback play. He does play a decent chunk of energy cards and does play a couple of energy recyclers, so it's certainly in range, but it's not necessarily a matchup where I think we have to panic about no Kyogre because there's just so many avenues to take multi-prize turns against the Gardevoir players. So I think we should be able to get away with that one. Karl's going to diligently get through their deck for their initial search and are just going to grab a couple Ralts here to kick things off. Karl is playing the Battle VIP Pass version of Gardevoir. It's become more of a debate in the last few weeks and the last few tournaments. Obviously at the LAIC, there were some builds foregoing Battle VIP Pass, which was pretty much unheard of pre-Paradox Rift. It was a staple for until we've started to see the higher Ultra Ball and Luminion V counts in list, trying to steal some space to fit in all of the great new cards from Paradox Rift.
Yeah, you've been a bit of a champion of the Battle VIP Pass.
It's a good card, you know. You just get into the game, and I feel like it's a great safeguard card. As Tord is also going to play the Battle VIP Pass early here after a quick concealed cards. Is going to start getting more Comfey onto this board. Of course, there is still Cramorant pressure available, and that's already being spied by Tord to initiate a prize race. And it's a fantastic way that you can do that. Even single prizes are pretty handy to take here. You can find a way around 2-2-2 with the combination of Iron Hands and Roaring Moon. You could just go all-out Comfey here. But with Tord already having a Colress in hand, I think he's pretty comfortable to grab the Cramorant here with this initial Battle VIP Pass. Yeah, it's going to start applying that pressure as soon as possible. Both players have played against a type of variant in this matchup already. Karl has, in his run during day one, taken a victory against a lost box variant. And similarly with Tord, has been able to take down a Gardevoir EX in his day one run as well. So both players, no stranger to this matchup in some way, shape or form. Well, yeah, I don't know if it's fair. Until we start to see, different cards that drop down. Tord's been in this situation before. I think Karl is still figuring things out as we go. But of course, being such a high-profile player, people will have heard about the combination of cards in Tord's deck at this point, as we see the initial Colress's experiment here. Going to be lost zoning a Comfey and a Lightning Energy in order to keep 3 of those cards. An immediate Palpad of Colress into the deck as well, Tord wanting to safeguard around Iono as much as possible. This is one of the key defenses Karl can use throughout the entire game, with Iono constantly reducing towards hand size and options. It is going to be a flower selecting Escape Rope versus Pokestop. It's going to be the stop that hits the lost zone for our 3 counts right now. It's going to be an Escape Rope, which is basically a switch in this instance because it's all Rolts, but it will mean that Tord has a switch card in the hand, another one hitting lost zone here, so we will have a Spit Innocently if Tord thinks it's worth initiating this race. Yeah, there's quite a few sort of switch cards either in Tord's hand now already lost zone or used. There's already a few, I believe, I've seen come across from those flower selects and the Chorus Experiment. Tord also beginning to just kind of set up that board, does bring out the Palkia V. 2 Water Energy already in the discard pile, thanks to the concealed cards plus the payment of Retreat. Opening the threat of something like the Radiant Greninja. We're attacking on multiple fronts here. Tord is going to be swinging with Cramorant, but also there's the fear of a Palkia V-Star Moonlight Shuriken play. So Karl will be most likely trying to get in a Mirage Step, but also needs to try and weave in a Manaphy this turn. Yeah, it's a massive way of just going, do you have a way to deal with everything I've got on my board, say? But we do see an insta-rare candy into the Shining Arcana. And there's already reversal energy in the hand as well, which is phenomenal. I think that's an Avery that's also come into the hand, which could be a bit of a headache for Tord. I definitely like seeing the additional cards here as well. Just having to deal with this Cramorant without having to really force the board of a Gardevoir EX as well is actually quite a nice thing. I mean, playing the double also. Playing the double reverse Greninja now, and it means you don't need to have Manaphy. Yeah, it could be big. Counter Catcher plus reversal energy. It's what we said earlier in the build up to this game, is that if you can have a 140 hit point Gardevoir, that's pretty much the best thing you can create here. And using this level ball, I'd prefer it to be a Curlier and just get drawing cards, knowing that you can counter catcher a Radiant Greninja this turn if you wish. Yeah, I think it's big. Just being able to keep drawing cards, that's the main sort of, consistency of the deck, being able to use that refinement and then alongside Shining Arcana, weave those in where possible, get those energies in the discard. Has the Greninja as well now. Yeah, an energy plus Greninja with the 2 draws. That's exactly what you want to see. And yeah, like you say, it's a win-win in many cases. You want the Psychic Energy in the discard pile. It helps your Psychic Embrace throughout the entirety of the game. So as the game continues, it gets better and better for you. And I believe when there's no search for Manaphy now, it pretty much has to be a Radiant Greninja counter-catcher play, I would think. Yeah, it's kind of forcing himself down that avenue. Unfortunately, hasn't been able to draw into a Manaphy out as of yet. Or is that there is an Ultra Ball? Yeah, I believe there's Ultra Ball, so you could Fog Crystal out a Psychic Energy just to burn the card and get it in the discard pile banked early for you. I think that's reasonable, but I also think it's just so solid to go for the Radiant Greninja regardless. You're still targeting draw power from Tord. You're making the Palkia less versatile as well. It pretty much would just have to accelerate to itself if Tord's able to find a V-Star.
It's trying to think out what those future turns could be like, right? So if that Cramorant stays around, it could still be utilized as a quite an annoying attacker for Karl's board.
It's so tough for Karl because Tord's at 4 cards in the lost zone. So that 1 Confey plus a Colress gets them to 7, which means Tord has access to Roaring Moon, has access to Iron Hands, has access to Palkia and its V-Star power. There's so much going on in his deck list. It's hard to play around, even though the board looks quite like average right now.
Unthreatening.
Because, unthreatening, exactly. It could get much more dangerous next turn.
Yes, it's just all asking those questions, right? As we do see the counter catcher on
the expected play.
Greninja. Yeah, I think once
you can't Manaphy, you have to bring up the Radiant Greninja in this case to protect your 2 Curlier.
Has one more refinement, but 3 very important cards in his hand.
So good.
So we do unlikely to sort of see it utilized, as we do just see the brainwave attack.
Yeah, Karl does not play Palpad either, so that boss wouldn't be coming back if it was the choice from your refinement. So just going to hold on to the hand, level up the prize trade most importantly, as we pass over to Tord, who's got 2 energy to choose from, a Psychic Energy and a Darkness. He plays just 2 Psychic Energy in the deck list and 4 Darkness Energy, so it's going to be down to what Tord needs in the moment. Only plays 1 Sableye in this deck list as well. Does of course have recovery in the form of Super Rod, but it's far less worried about Lost Mine because Iron Hands takes more prizes than Sableye now.
It's just not necessary, but I'm still going to have it as a threat on my side of the board. You know, again, I'm going to keep going back to it. It's asking questions. If I have this Palkia V, it means you have to start thinking about that Radiant Greninja. If I have, you know, the Iron Hands, you've seen the Lightning Energy hit the Lost Zone already. You have to start thinking about when's that going to come down. That Roaring Moon from the Dark Energies, that means Karl has to time his Gardevoir EXs perfectly to get the energies on and then maybe find a way to collapse it away. There's so many small things they have to think about.
And this is a crucial chorus for Tord. It's getting him to that key 7 threshold, but also what can you do? What can these 5 cards offer in terms of formulating an attack strategy here? The best idea would be to possibly get an Escape Rope Iron Hands. That could be pretty devastating, I would think, on this board state. Outside of that, I don't think he has many easy ways of taking a 2-prize KO here.
No.
If you could recycle Radiant Greninja, perhaps, that could be a play. Didn't really get to see what the 5 cards were from the chorus.
Sableye
hitting the board. I think this is just to get it out of the hand. Oh, wow, look at this. Just going to be a Cramorant. So Tord not with the ideal turn here.
So that's why he has to kind of start to fret the Sableye, because, you know, Cram just being able to push enough damage on the Gardevoir.
Yep.
Brainwave not currently live because they're even on prizes as well. So it means that Reversal Energy is no longer available to give free Psychic Energies to that Gardevoir. So Karl will be needing to look for other avenues here, maybe either to just begin setting up the board a little bit more, or perhaps, which is not typical of Gardevoir, going actually ahead in prizes.
Yeah, and Tord almost saying, well, get your EX down, start damaging this Gardevoir even more, fall into the trap of Lost Mine. Because, of course, Reverse Energy currently not active. It will force Karl into a pretty awkward position. I feel like from Karl's side, the best play here is trying to set up Cresselia. If you can Cresselia the Comfey that's just received an energy card, that could be a really great play this turn, I would say. It is still being played in Karl's list. Bit of a debate now these days because there is the Jirachi from Paradox Rift that kind of competes with the space of the Cresselia in many ways. Oh,
there it is.
From the Shining Arcana.
Could that take him down the actual avenue of using Cresselia's attack?
There's already the EX in hand as well. So the line is available for Karl to use Cresselia to take out the benched Comfey or Sableye. Again, the Comfey looks like the obvious choice because that would be the pivot for Tord and it would help Tord get to 10 cards in the Lost Zone. I feel like that is probably the best selection here.
So many card draw on Karl's side now. That's a potential 8 cards there from the double refinements, the concealed cards, the Shining Arcana. Just so many options available to Karl, and that's why we're seeing Gardevoir be such a powerful deck from previous formats and into this new one.
The last thing I'd like to see from Karl here is whether or not they can get that Manaphy down. The Greninja has been recycled, let's not forget. So you do also have to have that in the back of your mind as well. So it's going to be the final refinement for Karl.
Has he been able to hit a way out of it? I'm not too sure. I saw an option there.
Currently not, but does still have Supporter, let's not forget.
Does also still have another Shining Arcana in hand as well. So
has already drawn 8 cards from abilities this turn. and can keep going if they choose to. I feel like Cresselia and the EX are basically always coming onto the field. Karl is debating a Super Rod here just for more Gardevoir pieces. Going to be a Curlier and a Ralts going back into the deck. Possibly before even just a Worker for 3 more cards. Tor doesn't play any hand disruption, so Guardy is pretty content to just grow a hand size throughout the game.
Looks like a Fog Crystal, maybe picking up that Ralts once again.
And Screamtail being debated as well, perhaps. Just making sure it's in the deck.
Checking all of those additional attackers that Karl's playing, you know, the whole plethora of Zacian V, Screamtail, and the Cresselia, in addition to those Gardevoirs. So, so many options again. Just identifying that fog, that psychic energy.
Cultivating a Zacian swing this turn, perhaps. Thinking about how much damage he could put onto his own Zacian. I think that's a little dangerous.
Could boss. But yeah, just targets the routes. Could identify, you know, he has that boss in hand. Could have been an option to try and maybe force the prizes, but you know, he wants to have those reversal energies activated once again, right? So it's a catch-22 to try and go so far ahead in prizes, as we do see the evolution up to the Shining Arcana Gardevoir again. A further 2 cards.
Yep, there is a little bit of risk to this evolution because there's only one other Curlier in play right now. We know Karl did search another Ralts, but would have to find a combination of Rare Candy into a second EX if Tor was able to map out a Roaring Moon sort of play. But actually, Tor doesn't play any Gust, so if Karl knows the list inside and out, it should be okay here.
Yep, just a retreat, the attachment from the Shining Arcana, which really saves the damage.
Yeah, it's 20 less damage for Tor to play with via Sableye.
Now the Gardevoir EX coming down, offering that Psychic Embrace ability. One, of course, to the Cresselia, and that's sort of spreading damage to the Psychic Pokemon.
Yeah, not only taking a KO, but also slightly healing your Gardevoir that was punched last turn by a Spit Innocently from Cramorant, so definitely a handy play.
So no Manaphy coming down now.
Yeah, no Manaphy, but we've evolved out so much that, yes, there's still a 2-prize turn on the table for Tord.
And still a supporter to come.
It could have come from the form of Sableye anyway next turn, so it's pretty much the same thing as allowing Sableye to Lost Mine.
Well, it'll be a bit more difficult if he does target the Comfey, as we've already highlighted, because then we'll need to find another Comfey to come down alongside the Chorus's Experiment to hit that 10 in that lost zone. So Karl doing everything in his power to just limit what Tord is able to do on his turn.
It feels like Karl's in control right now, and it's really just based on how Tord's next turn plays out. The difference between just having to Spit Innocently into a Cresselia would be horrible, would be an awful, awful play. But if we've already seen he's drawn into Colrus, if that Colrus can grant him a means of Einhanding through the Cresselia or having, you know, a Radiant Greninja play of his own, that could be monstrous. So an excellent turn from Karl, choosing to take out the Sableye. This could be due to list knowledge, actually, because there's already been a Super Rod played from Tord. And yes, it's just one copy of the Sableye. So this is something we have to keep an eye on as the tournament progresses. You may have an indication of what your opponent actually has access to. Yeah,
with all of those pieces that is in Tord's list, you know, it's one of those easier cuts because
got to make space somewhere.
Exactly, you know, having to incorporate the Palkia, the Kyogre package, or the Kyogre sort of direction your Tord's gone down with this avenue. It's very good gameplay and game knowledge from Karl's side to maybe target down that Sableye, going, well, you now need not just a Super Rod, but just identifying awkward scenarios from there.
I think Tord has a ton of energy recovery cards, but I don't think I've seen any Mirage Gate just yet. Was able to take a Nest Ball, or a couple Nest Ball, to get some Pokemon onto the board. The Escape Rope's a choice now for Karl. I think the undamaged Shining Arcana Gardevoir is the way that you deny the most prizes.
Well, Karl looks like he's comfortable with the Greninja going forward. Yeah,
the issue, of course, is allowing your Gardevoir to take a hit means you can't then Arcana onto it.
Or Embrace to it.
Embrace to it, yeah, of course. It's going to be a Radiant Greninja first coming down for Tord, so still a few more draws available to them as they need to try and find a means of Mirage Gate here.
How do you feel about Luxurious Cape in Gardevoir?
So I'm more of a fan of just Zacian or Cape. I feel like they compete with space with one another. Looks like Karl's playing quite a thin count of Ball Search instead. Like, for me, personally, I'd really like an extra level ball in the deck list. He's just playing 3 copies, but I'm boring. And I think Luxurious Cape is... Oh, there we go. We do see a Mirage Gate now coming to the hand. This opens up towards avenues a lot, I would say.
Ooh,
and the Palkia V-Star, so there can be a Moonlight Shuriken this turn as well. For 2 prize cards, that's on the table, as long as we have energy from hand. Oh no, yeah, exactly, energy from hand would be perfect. Don't have to Mirage Gate to the Greninja, but you could do it that way as well. Yeah, and the retreat of the 3rd water, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so many options again.
Yeah.
And this is what Tord has been building his deck to be able to utilize, right? That Palkia V-Star on the bench, the Origin form there, that Star Portal ability, something we haven't seen for quite some time, I'd like to think. And now there is the Moonlight Shuriken, taking 2 prizes, pushing Tord closer to victory in this game 1. 3 prizes remaining. Karl has counter catches and reversal energies.
Back online. We'll have to attach to retreat this Radiant Greninja though, so the reversal isn't really available this turn. But at least, well, we already see a ton of Iono in the hand. So it's whether or not Karl wants to draw a couple cards before using Iono, or just go ahead and start the turn with that. Try and disrupt Tord down to just 3 cards would be pretty handy, I would say. This is where the game really starts kicking off for Gardevoir. It's going to be the Iono out the gates. Karl getting 4 cards, Tord just getting 3. And that's one of those precious Mirage Gate hitting the bottom of the deck as well.
Karl having options to draw a further 4 cards, but of course doesn't want to waste the Psychic Energies too much because that's still have to retreat, but it doesn't matter when you hit 3 from Iono. So
we can conceal cards as well as attach retreats with no headache. It's going to be first a Shining Arcana. Not too much help there in the immediate future. Just the Vacuum and the Rare Candy. It's going to be the concealed cards.
Just got to remember those resources he has put to the bottom of the deck.
Yeah.
From the Iono as well. What core pieces could have been there?
There's still a debate of what's best here. It's looking like Karl's going to have a single prize knockout based on where the hand is right now. So it's whether or not you want to weave in Cresselia again and target a Comfey once more. Just make Tord have to move his own Greninja out the way, possibly. Also just going to scout the subspace swell damage here. 60 base, plus 20 more for each benched Pokemon. Think of it as a souped-up Rondo attack from all of the legendary beasts.
Yeah, does need to find that combo of pieces of...
Gardevoir EX coming in.
Ooh,
it's a big risk if a Roaring Moon comes out of nowhere.
Iono to 3,
yeah, you're right. But if it happens, I'd like to see more Psychic Embrace on the bench Gardevoir now as well here, as a contingency. If that doesn't happen, you're taking a huge risk here as Karl. I know your opponent only has 3 cards, but...
It is massive.
It's just going to be the knockout. No additional Psychic Embrace, which does open an avenue for Tord to take a big 2-prize knockout here, based on how strong this hand is.
He's played a few Chorus Experiment already.
There's Mirage Gate in hand.
Ooh. There's a Nest Ball.
Nest Ball versus Colrus. It's going to have to be Colrus, because I don't think we had the additional Darkness Energy in hand.
Right.
So we need to find a way to find Roaring Moon and a Darkness Energy here.
Switch card in hand as well.
Yeah, Switch card can allow you this. You have Escape Rope if you miss, and then there's already the Iron Hands there. But that will require a second Mirage Gate.
This Colress could be quite telling.
I see water. An easy couple of lost zones. I see Lightning Energy Water. I saw Kyogre and VIP Pass.
Kyogre taken from the prizes early doors as well. Don't know how helpful some of those cards are.
Yeah, we might just have the wrong arrangement of energy from that 5 cards. If all else fails, you could try and swing with Arm Thrust with Iron Hands.
There's an Escape Rope being played.
Yeah, it's going to have to be rope around, Arm Press, I should say. Arm Press around this. You have one more dig with a Comfey, because there's already the Switch card as well, don't forget.
Yep.
So if we see now we need to see a Mirage Gate from this Comfey to see an Amp You Very Much 2-prize turn.
Just Dark Energy.
It's Dark Energy and Roaring Moon against each other. I think he needed both of those cards.
He did need both. And that's just a bit rather unfortunate after seeing 9 cards from the double Flower Selectings and the Chorus Experiment.
Oh, there is Darkness in hand. So if there's darkness in hand, yeah, we've roped away the God of White EX,
Yep.
so it's just less useful now.
Just an attachment to the Palkia V-Star. It's generally quite an efficient attacker as well. You know, it's just the 2 water energies, obviously freer currently in the discard.
Interesting. So Tord's going to go down this route where you just swing with Cramorant and set up damage. And again, force Karl into this awkward situation where your energy is spread around your Pokemon. There shouldn't be a way to knock out the Palkia in a turn. You make your opponent go down to 2 prize cards. And in that case, you're trying to permanently turn off the counter catchers and reversals from that stage.
Yep. Just drew into the counter catcher.
Yeah.
Unable to be utilized here now. Of course, Karl was able to promote the Radiant Greninja because there was one more Psychic in hand when we saw the 3 that came out of the Iono. Manaphy there is an option, but an easy target.
A little late at this point, yeah. It would lead you into Sableye actually being a pain for you. So you probably want to remain... This board is pretty much staying as is, I think.
Just an Arcana there.
Screamtail plus Level Ball. Going to be searching out possibly Ralts here if there's still one in the deck. We shuffled one back in. No, it's going to be a Mirage Depth Curlier.
Took it out from a Frog Crystal early doors when it was super rodded back in.
Karl, I don't think can use this energy. He has to use this energy to retreat, so can't even conceal cards here. I believe there's only one in the hand. So it's pretty much locked into what looks like another Moonglow reverse likely here.
Forcing questions of Tord this time.
Yeah, but it's that same issue of you've spread so many energy around your Pokemon. That's going to be a bit of a headache, I think. There's going to be the attachment retreat for a Moonglow here. You would have to damage the Cresselia as well this turn to take a knockout, of course.
Yep.
So that's even more energy sort of littered around the board.
Or this resource management.
Yeah, this is coming so into play now. You're going ahead in the prize race, but your last 2 prizes become more difficult now that you're turning off your counter catchers, which is kind of your best means of gust. And you're going to have energy on your EX. You can have energy trapped on Cresselia now. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit rough, even though he's in this nice position prize-wise.
It always looks good, doesn't it? But it's always that threat.
Yeah.
It's always that risk you're taking.
Especially because Palkia could just be too big now if you've got too many energy listed around the rest of your Pokemon.
We'll be looking to try and utilize something like maybe that boss, that one-off boss that he's held into his hand early, instead of using refinement to move it away, as he does target down the Comfey there with a Moonglow reverse, taking him down to 2 prizes now.
Oh, wow. Huge top deck for Tord. Pokegear, giving him access to
one final chorus.
Yeah, just 1 in there. 3 already discarded, but the deck is fairly thin at this stage as well. Tord could proactively Mirage Gate as well. There's both Roaring Moon and Iron Hands in the hand. Has to debate which one to pre. Yeah, does have to move as well. It's going to be the Iron Hands powered up from
energy. Is it just a
look
dark?
At this, yeah. So unfortunate that it's 2 darkness energy in the deck right now. So just 1 attachment for Tord.
Not the best value.
No.
From Mirage Gate,
but you can see there's 1 chorus.
Lots of options
there.
Yeah. Maybe that's the reason why he chose to go for it, because then he could pick the pieces that he needs for this combo.
You can find even more Mirage Gate. You can find your Recycler or Rod and try and make something together, come together from that. There's Lightning Energy currently in the hand.
That was the first Mirage Gate as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first of the entire game. It's just been acceleration from the Palkia's V-Star power.
As we do see the Pokegear, they're more than 7?
Yeah. I think we have about 14 or so cards, maybe a little less, but the chorus is there.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, he's just going to grab it anyway. It's always going to be chorus.
Not any other option.
Literally the only supporter in the deck. Towards last stand here, the Palpad's been played. The chorus is the final one being used.
So what's the game plan here for Tord? Iron Hands on the board now.
You can only take a single prize, I think. And ideally it's with Palkia, I would say. Because it's your chunkiest Pokemon.
Yep. Try and limit the opportunity to be retaliated back in for the final 2 prizes of Karl.
Yep, Hisuian Heavy Ball being used for no target here, just to burn it from the hand. You don't want to draw back into this card ever. when there are no targets remaining.
Iron Hands is the one way on the next turn to take the final 2 prizes, perhaps, if there's enough energy in Mirage Gates to go round, which I believe there should just be.
It's going to be the payment of retreat for
What's
a
another
flower
card?
selecting. So Tord's not in a good position. It's Gate and Rod up against each other, so Tord's going to have to throw away Mirage Gate here because there's only 1 Darkness Energy in the deck at the moment. It's going to be a turn attachment to Iron Hands EX. Possibly, yeah, just passing is your best route here, so you aren't giving Karl 2 more Psych Energy back into the discard pile. Tord's going to take a look. That's the one thing stopping Karl right now from just running away with the remainder of this game, is that there's only 2 Psych Energy in the discard pile, Reversal Energy is not live, and Karl can only at the moment retreat 1 more energy right now. So that's how Tord is hanging on here.
And this is tense because Tord is a seasoned Gardevoir player, so he knows the ins and outs of all of this maneuvering around, using different attackers.
Reversal Energy isn't the game because it's currently a colorless energy, not a psychic energy. But I think that's all Karl needs to reach 240 damage on Iron Hands EX. So we need to keep an eye on that right now.
Remember, 1 prize ahead. Tord will need to take a double prize to go down to 1 to reactivate Karl's sort of combat cards that we've seen. This is getting tense.
I think it's becoming a resource war at this stage. I think that's what Tord's trying to do, to find an avenue to come back here. Karl's going to stick an extra energy on this Cresselia and just Lunar Blast by the looks of things.
Just, again, forcing an awkward scenario here by Tord onto Karl, and Karl's trying to do the same back.
Karl gets to hold on to that entire hand. We know that there's no hand disruption possible.
Lunar Blast onto the active.
Lunar Blast, and Tord is going to concede
it's
there.
It's just a concession.
Yeah, I think Tord was hoping that there was going to be a strange play there from Karl, maybe retreat into a different attacker or something along those lines, trying to just call his bluff there. But no, Karl was unfazed and made the right line, which was just swing with Cresselia. Give yourself the option to Boss's Orders the Cramorant on the next turn to close out the game. And with that 3 prize buffer, Karl with a pretty nice display there in that first game.
Wow, wow, wow. What a display by Gardevoir EX, the deck that has fallen off our day 2 map, as it were.
It's still tier 1. It's still one of the strongest.
It's so relevant, right?
It still feels like one of the best decks. It just feels like it was just so on the radar this weekend that people came with the counters. We've seen how much Miraidon's been in the field. We've seen that Iron Valiant has a really good time into the Gardevoir matchup. So, you know what? If you can have a better run through Swiss and get onto a certain record, you could just be up against easier matchups. Plus, Karl is a really seasoned player, very good player, as we've just seen in that first game, that you have Gardevoir's means of navigating through these situations. We were here umming and ahhing of what the best play was that turn. Karl identified the right one in that late game scenario, and that's what's really important. Plus, let's not forget, as we go into game 2 here, still have 20 minutes on the clock. I think there should be a decent amount of time to at least get 1 more game in. And it seemed like a bit of shoulda, woulda, coulda from Tord. He wasn't quite able to get those combinations rolling. It was unfortunate that his Colress found him lightning plus water instead of the 3 darkness energy that were in the deck. So he was just a piece short there from still being ahead in the prize race and would have been able to develop one of those powerful attackers. It just didn't quite align that game.
Yeah, Karl in a fantastic position to inflict Tord's first loss of the weekend. Primed here to try and push himself even closer with 10 victories, but, you know, Tord is Tord. He's playing that faster deck. We've heard that from the interview as well. He's
faster win conditions, trying to have 2 prizes every single turn, but in game 1 had to Cramorant twice. That's not really what you're trying to do with the deck list. You want to set the tempo with Cramorant, then move on to those higher damage and more dangerous attackers. It just didn't quite come together.
Big bulking Pokemon.
Yeah, you're trying to use the 2 prizes to take 2 prizes your own end. As we see some prizes, these are quite awkward for Karl. The Cresselia was such an important tool in the first game to wipe away some damage and target down some crucial Pokemon.
As we're into game 2 of our round 12 feature match here, I believe Tord has decided to go second, of course. Karl opening with that Battle VIP pass, you know, a sigh of relief that he's able to see Ball Search, or Pokemon Search, sorry. Yeah,
definitely helpful. I think this shows that Tord's game plan is pretty much that he wants to get an early Cramorant swing, and ideally force Karl to go for a Mirage Step. Then you get your second Cramorant swing, and that puts you down to those 4 prize cards. And from that stage, 1 Iron Hands attack plus 1 Roaring Moon attack gets you there, or one of those combinations. So I think it really shows how Tord's built his deck list with the 3 Poker Gear, that you want to find that Colress early, you want to get going, and you want to start initiating the prize races as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's that same way that we've seen sort of Turbo Lost Box do things. And obviously with that Kyogre package, your mindset is typically when you play that deck to get to the bottom of the deck as soon as possible. And you know, these kind of useful cards to get to the stage of utilizing Cramorant, getting to the 4 prizes, because then you don't really want to activate things like Roxanne that you've seen, a bit of a crux against Kyogre at times. And this is where, you know, this is how Tord's built the deck, and alongside those big bulky 2 prizes, it's been able to just really take it down. We see the Battle VIP pass instantly for the Manaphy this time.
Yeah, as well as the Radiant Greninja for a couple of additional cards. Karl's hand is actually really good for turn 1. It has Fog Crystal. I think there's another Ralts in the hand as well. And there's also a Psychic Energy for next turn. So is able to begin the quest of getting those Psychic Energy banked into the discard pile. And we'll have a number of Ralts ending turn 1 here. Really good start.
Yeah, fantastic start. Tord just having a quick glance of his hand as well.
Couple VIPs,
but yeah.
No access to Colress, I don't think. Possibly not even energy in that hand, so may not even have concealed cards towards Colress. There's Karl debating the Celebrations Mew here. Could retreat into this Pokemon with the Psychic Energy in the hand, and can start looking at the top 6 to grab an item card. Maybe an indication that Karl wants to work towards rare candies, as he did in the first game.
Yeah, you know, fantastic card. Typically played when you use the Battle VIP version of Gardevoir.
Yep.
Hasn't hit an item yet, but in the last 2 of the 6, there's that Battle VIP bar. Can start building out that board that we've already mentioned. Just in a great position here.
Karl's also debating the Ultra Ball. I think it's actually a close one at this stage. You have another Ralts in the hand, but in the end it is going to be the Battle VIP pass. But it's also trying to balance that turn 1 and turn 2 here.
I mean, I think with the energy in hand as well.
We had to retreat into the Mew, didn't we? So I think it has Worker in hand for draw next turn. It's just going to be the 1 target of Ralts, and can bench the final 1 from hand.
Might still have Mew available, you know, depending on how Tord has to play out. There's escape rope sometimes.
Definitely.
Kind of dig through.
You make your opponent go first, and they make a board like this. Without a supporter. Couple Battle VIP pass for Tord. I don't know if we can get Greninja out the way here, or if we can, well, possibly from Pokestop we could get Greninja out the way. At least we're thinning the deck of a ton of Pokemon here to make the Pokestop pretty powerful.
Yeah, checking those key cards already. There goes 3 Comphase coming down from the Battle VIP pass, and of course that core Cramorant to hopefully try and spit instantly with that Lost Provisions ability it has when it has 4 Lost Zone cards. So,
and Pokestop normally can't actually help you get your supporters. It's just trying to get those item cards. But the way Tord's built the list with 3 copies of Poker Gear, there's still a chance that that gets him towards Colress. That's what we've got to see here.
What a different way of playing it, right?
We have the escape rope, so we can at least begin using flower selecting here.
So typically, a lot of people try and put the Radiant Greninja active,
Definitely makes sense. Tord going to Pokestop first. Does get rid of Iron Hands and Colress.
That's one less
Super Rod, which is a card for later. We're instantly padding back Colress.
Remember, Tord has to hit.
You need a Colress to really,
turn.
you really need a Colress this turn. Otherwise, this whole going second idea doesn't look so smart. Again, the way he's built the deck list, it completely makes sense as to why he's done it, but the odds are not looking as good now. Roaring Moon versus... Oh, it was Colress. Okay.
That power pad,
it's
really coming up trumps, Right. So we're rolling.
We're gaming.
See how it goes. We are gaming.
Those lost provisions are most likely going to be online, provided Tord can attach retreat still here. Get another Comfey into the mix to get to the crucial 4 threshold. We should be looking pretty good in initiating this race, especially if there's a rope here. That's also required by the looks of things.
Just here, energy attachment retreat.
Turn retreat into the second flower selecting.
Switch cart.
Was it against escape rope?
Yep, escape rope. So another 2.
So rope does allow you to Cramorant for a prize card. The debate is, do you want to take a prize, or do you want to leave some damage on the board and stop all these shenanigans? It is going to be the rope to hand in the end.
Yeah, I think with the Manaphy, it does cause a bit of an awkward scenario, just leaving Greninja with the damage on it.
Possibly the Mew has to be sacrificed here.
Yep.
It's going to be the Manaphy from Karl. Interesting choice when your opponent's already got 4 in the lost zone. They're threatening Radiant Greninja.
I think Karl must be a bit worried with
Once
the Mew.
Once a Manaphy gets knocked out, bonk, let's put down this Palkia. So you got to get that back now.
Questions being asked. But, you know, Karl was a bit worried about his hand.
Yeah.
That's the reason why he didn't put the Mew active, right?
Yeah, does still want some draw power this turn. There's a rare candy in the hand, so having the Celebrations Mew to dig towards a Ultra Ball does seem pretty valuable here.
I don't think I see a worker. That was a
Oh, it was a boss's orders.
Yeah,
Too many shiny cards.
Too many. Yeah, I can't handle them.
Yeah, this actually, we desperately need to see a Mew here. What? Oh, this is the Pokestop.
Just.
I thought it was showmanship from a Mew for a second.
Especially considering we know Karl.
Yeah, yeah.
That's exactly what he does. And he hasn't hit
super
really
odd.
anything there.
I mean, yeah, this is going to be a really poor turn.
Pokestop
You thought after such a good turn 1, everything was going swimmingly for Karl, but no follow-up to this. Missed on all Ultra Ball, all Level Ball.
Could leave it in quite a precarious position here.
Boss's orders, Lost Vacuum, Rare Candy. These are not the cards we're after.
Just handing that advantage back over to Tord, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, there's even a Water Energy in Tord's discard pile, so doing one of these gusting plays means that Tord could even attack with his Palkia next turn fairly comfortably anyway.
Remove the Pokestop.
You might still, yeah, it is going to be the Collapse Stadium to try and limit Tord's push potential. The Pokestop does have to go, yep.
Considering the Lost Vacuum as well.
You can't retreat out of this. It's just going to be a pass. That is a rough turn for Karl, and it does open the doors for Tord now in the second game to try and make a comeback. A Lightning Energy is going to be discarded for concealed cards. There's the Escape Rope, so Tord can continue to Flower Select here. There's also the Poké Gear. It's going to be the switch card first. You want to see 9 cards to try and get towards a Colress, of course.
Holds on to the Water Energy in the hand now.
That is looking dangerous. We've got to 5 in the lost zone. If this Poké Gear hits, we're getting to 7, and there will be some Moonlight Shuriken plays, no doubt.
Doesn't hit.
Misses. That is rough. It's not a guarantee. They don't counter supporters if you don't hit off them. That is the catch. Both players now not on full cylinders, so it may have to settle for another Cramorant attack here. You are still going up 2 prizes. You can't feel too bad for him.
No, not at all.
But it could have been so much more with the potential to Moonlight Shuriken there.
Top deck mode for Karl Blake. Already 1 game up. Remember, if you're just joining us now, round 12 feature match.
It's a Curlier.
We're going to see 2 more cards.
This is exactly what Karl needs if he's going to make a comeback. It's going to be a Lost Vacuum. Discarded. That's an energy and Ultra Ball. We're starting to get there now. We can concealed cards. There's a handful of energy already in the discard pile.
And we're gaming on Karl's side as well now. We've got a game, ladies and gentlemen.
Rare Candy, Ultra Ball. It's starting to come together. It doesn't take much for Gardevoir to really get into this mode.
Just activated by 1 top deck.
Fog Crystal, Psych Energy, not ideal. You can Ultra Ball away Psychic, maybe Fog Crystal for Cresselia.
Yeah, just have a fairly bulky.
Get the Crest swing into Comfey again. Towards hand size isn't large. It's just 6 cards right now. Comparatively for the Lost Zone, that's not that big. You're still worried about the potential to Radiant Greninja next turn, of course.
Does have
possibly,
Super Rod.
yeah, possibly you even evolve into a Shining Arcana Gardevoir first, just for additional draw. That's another thing going through Karl's mind right now. Do you just grab the EX and the Crest play as a guaranteed line, or do you go for Arcana and continue to see more cards? Oh, Crest was in the prize cards.
Oh yes, at the top.
So that line's not available.
Screamtail being eyed up. Another fantastic addition from the Paradox Rift set.
Yeah, this could be, again, if you can't use Manaphy to protect yourself, take out the Greninja, make it tougher for Tord, possibly. That Roaring Scream opens up so many lines for Gardevoir.
Just awkward Ultra Ball targets. Is that a Zacian V?
Everything's awkward about this right now. Karl is trying to make the most out of what was a fairly slow hand. But Screamtailing the Radiant Greninja does seem like a play to me now. If you can't use Cresselia, you've got to use the Roaring Scream instead.
Just trying to think about future turns as well.
Yeah, heavily,
that hand isn't, I don't think it's too ideal at the same time.
No, he's not had any draw supporters all game. Just relying purely on abilities so far. But has been able to construct a turn at least. Can once again bring up Palkia.
Yeah, try and ask awkward questions once again.
When you are able to take benched prizes as well as Gardevoir is these days, it's fantastic to also use your gusting supporters defensively. And that's how we've seen Karl initiate this pretty much every time throughout the set so far.
Tord only at the 5 in the lost zone right now, so a little bit more difficult to even go down the Sableye route as well. So just utilizing the damage on just the routes on the active there to retreat. Did consider evolving up the active one.
It's going to be 4 energy onto Screamtail, which means it is going to be the Radiant Greninja target here.
And just a Super Rod in hand, so takes 1 prize.
Ooh, and that's the worker.
Is that there it is?
No, I saw it somewhere. Oh, look at that. The Colress next card. Classic. But still handy for Tord, though. He's going to need to move this Palkia potentially. The Greninja is a great play, but you would have to recycle it now.
Seen multiple switch cards of escape ropes being played and switch cards as well, sort of scattered around the board at the moment.
Oh, he's coming back.
Greninja's coming.
He's coming back.
Da-da.
They're bringing them all back. The Iron Hands coming in, the Lightning Energy back as well. 2 water banked in the discard pile for a Star Portal potentially.
In reality, just 2 attacks from taking game 2, isn't he? So just 4 prizes.
Yeah, has many avenues of a 2-prize turn here still.
Has 1 bench space available from that collapse. The Radiant Greninja coming straight back down after that Super Rod.
This is not what Karl wanted to see. He's just knocked out this Radiant Greninja. He didn't want to deal with it. Couldn't find Manaphy themselves. So wanted to just make it more difficult for Tord, but has found the pieces with Super Rod and Nest Ball combined.
Yeah, it's just from a 6-card hand that Tord had, plus the top deck. That Colress has just activated so much here. Pursuing a heavy ball, giving Tord a chance to just kind of review what's there. One of those Colresses.
4 supporters. Oh no!
Does have the Palkia V-Star hidden there, which I'm sure Tord would have been aware of through his deck searches. But is there enough avenue here?
You really don't want to take a single prize here if you can help it.
Yeah, 2 waters in the discard as well. There's a dark and a switch card. More switching cards kind of, again, scattered around the deck.
Yeah, we can see more flower selecting, no doubt.
There's the water.
Water Energy might be the final piece of the puzzle. If we have Mirage Gate access, plus another Super Rod, perhaps. There's 4 Water Energy in Tord's deck list.
I think there were a lot of pieces in Tord's hand. There's the escape rope. So
another question for Karl, really. Do you take the Volts here? With a low hand size like this, there's no guarantee the Greninja can be moved out the way. Yeah, I think the Volts is the safest choice here from Karl. You don't like it, but you have to go along with it.
Water in hand already. Mirage Gate.
Yeah, there's the 4th Water Energy, as we've seen a water come to the hand for Tord as well. So you can turn attached to the Radiant Greninja, make sure you remain on this even prize map. And we know that with Iron Hands, and even with Roaring Moon, there is many ways that Tord can close out the game with just 1 more attack here. So he's looking really in the ascendancy, also taking out some precious card draw for Karl as well.
Moonlight Shuriken.
Boops the Curlier, bops the Ralts, goes down to just 2 prizes remaining. And Karl living on top deck city now.
Has that worker and energy.
Well, we're seeing a few cards actually.
Yeah, it's just going to keep going. But unfortunately, that Manaphy going down early has activated that Moonlight Shuriken opportunity for Tord.
It's going to be the Super Rod first, which is a surprise to me because I feel like Karl having the highest odds to Iono here is his highest chance of winning. So putting these Pokemon back before using concealed cards, bit of a surprise for me. I'd have liked to have seen, because I feel like you have to Iono here.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like Iono is just too massive. Because Tord's got a decent hand size, threatening a number of different attackers here. Karl still has access to 1 counter catcher and Iono. You've already got a powered up Screamtail, so try and make something happen there. It's going to be the concealed cards now from Karl.
First 2.
Ultra Ball plus Curlier. Ultra Ball isn't going to get there because Karl is not playing the Luminion V, so it's just the worker for 3 cards here. Tord gets to keep the hand. And the board space also opens up. Iona was just slightly out of reach here.
Now unable to be played. Level ball in hand.
It's going to be level ball. If you're getting a Ralts on the board, you also have to have a mana fee. They have to go in tandem with one another. The mana fee is coming down first. This does open up Tord to win with Sableye now, with 70 hit points on the mana fee and a heavily damaged Screamtail. So many things to keep an eye on. So many attackers.
The collapse is gone.
Opens
so
up the Sableye space. Yeah. It's going to be an Ultra Ball from Karl now as well. Going to get rid of Curlier and Psychic Energy. I think it will be most likely for a Ralts here that was recycled from the Super Rod. It was definitely on Karl's mind. That's why we saw the Rod first. Karl was actually trying to find these Pokemon to re-establish any sort of presence here.
Yeah, with just a Gardevoir EX, it's just not really enough, is it? You need to kind of have that combo of the Shining Arcana Gardevoirs alongside the Gardevoir EX, still maintain that draw power. Not in the best position.
In the discard pile. You can obviously retreat 1 off the Screamtail if you really wish. There's going to be a couple energy onto the EX here by the looks of things. Just swinging with your tankiest Pokemon might be Karl's choice here.
Hoping maybe just double checking towards resources.
Yeah, it's tough. There aren't many great choices. It's going to be the Craborant here. And there's already 2 Comfey. Why go for the other one? And Tord had, oh wow, there's already the Sableye coming into town and Psych Energy. I believe that should be the game.
Yeah,
Colress gets you over the threshold to 10. And yeah, Karl wants to see it all happen. Not going to mess around here. Just going to actually respect the situation. And Tord will be saying, I will put 1 damage counter onto Screamtail. And yeah, that is, with 2 minutes remaining, going to level up the series here. 1 game each. And yeah, we are going to a game 3 with not much time remaining on the clock, but Tord was able to carve things out a lot better in the second game. I think that was a better display for his deck list. But at the same time, Karl wasn't that fast. So I think in both of these occasions so far, it's a 1-1 series where one player's deck has drawn really well, and the other just hasn't been able to keep up.
Yeah, Karl had a couple of scenarios there from the top deck where he got a little bit closer coming back, but then it's just a couple of pieces too short, and by then, Tord was too far ahead.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen the concealed cards pre Super Rod. I don't think he drew into any Pokemon, so I guess you could say it doesn't really affect it. But give yourself the highest odds of Iono, because it felt like that was critical there. You cannot allow Tord to retain a 6+ card hand size. It's just too dangerous, and Tord has very few supporters remaining in the deck at that stage. You can definitely make it more difficult for Tord there if you do find Iono plus Countercatcher. We actually haven't seen these combinations come together all in one turn all that often. They've kind of been found in different spots here and there, but that was a tough game for Karl. Wasn't able to find Cresselia, which was so important in that game 1. Some slightly more awkward prizes with some of the Gardevoir line in there as well. And let's not forget, just completely airing on any Curlier on turn 2. Pretty awkward not having any draw supporter. So his deck kind of betrayed him after a really good turn 1 and wasn't able to cycle any more cards there. Retreating into the Mew is something that you kind of look back on now and think, was it all that worthwhile, rather than holding on to the likes of Liverpool for guaranteed draw and the energy as well. These are all resources that you have to look at in those opening hands and not just think about how many basics I can get down on the first turn, but also have something held back for the following one. And in that case, it meant that Karl didn't really have much going on.
Yeah, we haven't even seen Iron Hands or Roaring Moon attack.
Well, they are in the deck, right? We've seen them rooting around, but just not quite lined up properly. But that is also due to Karl. He's trying to make spots where he can attack with Pokemon that sit out of range of Iron Hands or out of range or less viable for Roaring Moon. It only wants to hit into Gardevoir EX, basically. And when Tord doesn't play any Boss's Orders or Countercatcher of his own, and oh wow, some rough prize cards, 2 of the Mirage Gates. That's pretty much the critical card that really staples the whole deck together here in those prize cards. So that's going to be a rough one for Tord as we're kicking off this game 3, and the time is going to be called any second now, and that's going to make life very difficult for both players. They might just be shaking hands in a moment, and they might, yeah, here we go. We see the fist bump. There is no time remaining. It is going to be a tie in our Swiss round 12. which means Karl is going to go to a 9-1-2 record, and Todd remains unbeaten in the tournament, but has lost an opportunity to claim some more match points.
Just a quick flash of that game 3 there for a couple of seconds. Sorry, just a quick chuckle. What we able to showcase with both players just setting up, and then, realizing, of course, they weren't ever going to finish a game 3. But a fantastic display.